Chico. Jana Iko. Wewe iwe ila chi. Unataka zakata hapa. Zakata. Kumbe amepomosha jamani. Hey, wako. What the?
My people, comrades and friends, welcome to another episode of The Week with me, Comrade Fatso. And it's been another crazy week. Luke Malaba is staying put, Mtuli told us we have another surplus, and Nigeria turned off Twitter. We also caught up with former political prisoner and MDC Alliance activist Last Mahingahama for an exclusive interview. But first, the constitutional crisis continues. Former Chief Justice and the country's most infamous 70-year-old, Luke Malaba, still thinks he's the actual Chief Justice. A classic case of denial. Comrade Handiende himself is still refusing to retire and has now ordered a probe into the Judicial Services Commission, the JSC. Stage 2, anger. I see where this is going. He has apparently ordered an investigation into a very suspicious meeting that took place between the JSC's head of secretariat, Walter Chikwana, and Supreme Court Judge Webster Chinamora ahead of a court hearing that would impact Malaba's tenure as Chief Justice. The case was seeking the arrest of Malaba for defying a High Court ruling that he was no longer the Chief Justice. Justice Chinamora used the tried and tested Hurmen saying of what happens behind closed doors stays behind closed doors, and he recused himself from the 3-judge panel before it actually heard the application. Critics say that the meeting between Justice Chinamora and Chikwana was meant to put pressure on the judges ahead of the hearing to potentially rule in Malaba's favor. I mean, it's all getting very, very suspicious. To break it down, basically, what was happening in the meeting between Justice Chinamora and Chikwana was that they were allegedly like, comrades, with Malaba, ngatite softers, guys, softers. I mean, he had a tough birthday recently. I mean, why can't he have his cake and eat it? It's just maybe just rule in his favor a bit, eh? Shame. Lawyer and all-round legal warrior Beatrice Mtetwa said that this private meeting raised questions about the independence of the judiciary and wanted it to be investigated. But apparently, Malaba wants to investigate it himself. And now the High Court has ruled that he's not in contempt of court and should not be arrested. Yeah. We hope that Sekur Malaba goes through all the stages of grief and finally realizes kuti craft rapera. Because our judiciary is now becoming a joke, guys.
Right, councillors, I called this emergency meeting because Pakaipa, the way things are going budget so far, at Namarema Christmas, I should. Government, it puts a pressure for services not provided. So we must brainstorm to reassure the public.
Kanatika, Pama citizens control over the land that's outside their jura.
Then they'll own it,
They'll just be responsible for it.
So if any damage happens to Cesar Capers, it's not our fault. Not our fault.
Yeah. And then we tell them, Kutinga, I say my bin my lights, and then we say Kuti, we're empowering them. So they think they have a choice.
But make sure we write that we're not playing the blame game.
But government is blaming us for congestion, guys.
Let's blame the cyclists. Let's collect my bicycle license fees.
Right. Sakamari, yema bicycle license. Yeah, you know that cycle lane to to congestion.
Anti-use front. But guys, my youth is they're making us look very bad.
Do you know what? We can say that they are bad apples digging up the roads.
They are bare hands.
Then the guys are who control the traffic car. They're making us look bad.
Find them.
I'm my officer.
Are they properly trained in traffic control?
Guys, no blame game. No blame game.
But guys, vekumadhodho kanti ndovega vasiri kubhadhara
Ndaziziva, guys. Dog licenses.
Yes. But who's going door to door achinocollecta malicense acho?
Alright, ngatizeso. 1, 2, 3. Unattend, yeah.
Yes!
Good
Yes,
meeting, guys.
no,
No,
nice one,
collect
guys.
answers. Hop.
Meanwhile, constitutional lawyer Professor Lovemore Jese Maduku drew fire this week after taking up a case that seeks to nullify the High Court ruling that ended Malaba's tenure as Chief Justice. Maduku filed a constitutional court challenge on behalf of little-known ZANU-PF activist Marx Mapungu, arguing that ED acted appropriately and constitutionally after extending Malaba's tenure after the controversial constitutional amendments. Mr. Maduku and confusion, same WhatsApp group. Please pick a side, comrade. The people or the other guys. This week, the Supreme Court ruled that MDC activists Last Maingahama and Tungamirai Madzokere were wrongly convicted in 2011 for the murder of a police officer in Harare. Maingahama and Madzokere have been wrongfully imprisoned for the last 10 years after having been arrested and convicted for the murder of Inspector Petros Mutedzi in Glenview after he was attacked by a mob. We caught up with Last Maingahama for an interview to hear how he was doing.
Comrades and friends, we have a very special guest here today. We have former political prisoner who is free at last, Last Maingahama. Comrade, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Comrade Fatso.
So, Last, you've been locked up for a decade for a crime you didn't commit. How did you feel when you first heard that you'd been acquitted?
I was extremely excited. I was very happy. It was unbelievable. I was very happy. There are no words that can describe how happy I was.
So the process that led to you being locked up, it involved Justice Chinembiri Bunu, who actually refused video evidence that showed you weren't at the crime scene. You were actually Kuchech when the crime was happening. So if right now you found yourself back in prison courtyard, like walking around prison courtyard with just you na Justice Bunu, what would you say to him?
Well, I would just advise him to be a professional judge. We do not want people who masquerade as judge when they are political activists.
Because there was actually, Comrade Anditi, there was actual video evidence showing that, Last was at church. He wasn't there on the scene.
The evidence was overwhelming that this man called Last is innocent. But the judge decided to be political about it. It's unfortunate we do not expect that from a high court.
So obviously, this means you were a political prisoner. There was no real case against you.
Well, my only crime is that I am a member of the opposition.
So while you were sitting there, in the cells, comrade, you must have had maybe like a top 5 things that you wanted to do that were on your bucket list. Like when you got out of prison, what were the top 5 things, the first things you wanted to do?
Well, on number 1, the priority is to free Zimbabwe.
Ahoy!
Yes, we need to free Zimbabwe to create and build a Zimbabwe we want. That is my priority number 1. I am prepared to do anything to see that we have a free Zimbabwe, even if it means going back to prison. Because this is a conviction that Zimbabwe must be free and it has to be free. So that was always in my mind. I was always thinking about that we need Zimbabwe. It's our beloved country. We have no another country. This is our mother country. So everything wrong, it has to be corrected by we Zimbabweans. So that was on top of my list, the things that I was thinking about. And of course, I was thinking about my family. I was thinking about my business. I was thinking about my friends. I was also thinking about continuing to develop myself intellectually when I come out.
So after all your time in prison, what has that taught you about the prison system? I mean, what changes do you think need to happen? Panudiwa ka engine overhaul or ka minor service?
It's an engine overhaul.
Hmm.
An engine overhaul, which is total. Our prison system is designed to punish offenders. I can call it a punishment and retributive prison system. I understand when we adopted the new constitution in 2013, we transformed the Zimbabwe Prison Service to Zimbabwe Prison and Correctional Service. So the correctional aspect entails that we are now focusing on correcting offenders, but that is not what is on the ground. We need to put more programs in prison so that prisoners are rehabilitated, prisoners are transformed and prepared to be reintegrated into the community, into the society.
Mm-hmm. We hear some stories of camaraderie in Chikurubi with comrades like Hopewell and Jacob. Speaking of camaraderie with you and Tunga Mirai, what was that like? What did that entail?
Well, when they joined us, of course, we had to take them through and try to show them the systems about the prison, trying to point where dangers are and some tricks and so, prison is a society on its own. So they were coming from another world, entering another world. So you have to ready them for the type of world they've been entering.
Mm.
Yeah.
So when your colleague Yvonne Musarura, when she came out of prison, she dumped Chamisa and she joined Kupe. So which faction do you belong to, comrade? Are you going quite Dagi? Because Dagi these days, any beg mdara, any state support.
I don't belong to a faction. I don't believe that the party led by Nelson Chamisa is a faction. That is the real MDC. That is where I belong. Politics is not about beg. If you want a beg, you have to sell your tomatoes and mango to get your money. But when you come to politics, serious business for governance of the people in our country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like you're saying, comrade, if you want to keep going, it's better to sell tomatoes than to sell your soul, eh?
Yes, better sell your airtime and all the stuff, not your soul.
So, my last question to you when you were locked up under Bob. You've now been released under ED. It's a new dispensation. How new does this all look to you?
I think we are not doing justice to those English terms. New dispensation, Second Republic, and so they do not apply in our scenario. There's no new dispensation to talk about. There's no Second Republic to talk about. Since 1980, we've been under one system. That system is still the system that is we govern this country. So you would never hear me using those words, new dispensation or a Second Republic. They don't apply.
So,
yes.
So, comrade, then what's the way forward for Zimbabwe now in the situation we find ourselves in a political and economic crisis? Twitter say.
Struggle continues. We are our own liberators. No one will come and liberate this country for us. We Zimbabweans, we have to do everything possible to make sure that we are free. And free we are going to be. I am very optimistic and very confident. Whatever the challenges we may be facing now, they are nothing. This Zimbabwe is going to be free one day. Get it from me.
Ahoy, comrade. Comrade Lask, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And we're very happy to welcome you into, it's kind of freedom that you've come out into, but welcome back. And we're very happy that you've been acquitted, comrade.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
What do you do when you get annoyed with social media? Yes, you switch it off. Well, that's what the Nigerian Hurmen did this week after it switched off Twitter for the whole country. After the social media company had deleted one of the tweets of the president for violating its rules. He who runs the country runs the tweets. I mean, that's the real definition of who catch my feelings. You don't like my tweets? More than 39 million Nigerians have a Twitter account, and activists have successfully used the platform to mobilize for important actions, like hashtag Bring Back Our Girls and hashtag EndSARS. So we say, hashtag please bring back our Nigerian Twitter.
Welcome to this week's emergency weather report. Ndakavarwa ne-lockdown ndiri mukwekwe. Saka please don't mind this background. Ka emergency. Mirai chimdududu chimbopura. Our government has continued to inspire other African nations. At first, it was ZESA with load shedding, you remember, and then ESCOM followed. But now, the Nigerian government has copied our weather conditions of shutting down the internet on its citizens. My Nigerians were surprised, but for us Zimbabweans, we were like, this is guys, those are normal. Moving on with our weather report. Our government has intensified the winter season by introducing statutory instrument 127 of 2021, which makes it a criminal offense for a trader to give discounts on payments made in USD, in US dollars. Mario Varuto comrade, boys Imagwere. Sorry, emergency weather report. However, there was a bit of sunlight when last Mayenga Hama and Tungamirai Madzokere were acquitted on charges of having murdered a police officer back in 2011. Once again, our meteorological services got it wrong. Not this meteorological service, comrade. Yegu pockets you. At least last and Tungamirai were released. I at least removing the Zeduka, but Ipapo Chando Chakapisa. Back to you in the kitchen, comrade. That's me. You
know, when you elect MPs, they're supposed to do things like represent their constituency and generally speak in parliament. Well, Open Party ZW has just released a list of MPs who haven't spoken at all this year in parliament. I mean, that's like a Lion's Made ice cream vendor not selling kinda ice cream one in October. How? And top of the list of the silent MPs is none other than Fidza, aka Phil Chiangwa, aka Apaona Kish. Yep, he's very good at talking at affirmative action group events with Passion Java, but when it comes to parliament, Z. The Jimba North MP has not said anything in parliament between the 2nd of February and the 31st of May. An excuse. Another MP who's been silent is Gertrude Chibabu, a proportional representation MP from ZANU-PF. She's serving her 3rd term in parliament and hasn't said anything at all in 2021. Zero. The only time we've heard from her is when Open Party ZW went out and found her and asked her what her bill was.
Such as myself, no, I am not prepared. Odarjira bill okuti muno pane bill rakati. Those ndinoda kuti munhu afunze. Ini ndinoandastenda bill rokuti vana sevana veZimbabwe ngatiite madevelopment yedu, ngatishande basa redu, ngatidii, ndo mabhiri andinoda. Andidi zvakawanda nokuti tikava nehealth noupenyu hwedu, bhiri redu rehealth kunyanya kwehealth.
Yeah, that's your MP, the people's representative. And it's not just a ZANU problem. MDC Alliance MPs like John Roland Houghton and Godfrey Karakadzai are also to blame for saying nothing. If you've had enough of your MP being silent, then go to the Parliament of Zimbabwe website, get their contact details, and get in touch with them to say, hey man, speak man. Stupid. Thanks for joining us on The Week. Follow Magama TV on social media. I've been Comrade Fatso. You have been the people. This has been The Week. Thank you. Enjoy your surplus and food sack.